Hello world, this is Edward Bevilacqua, the publisher of Ciao Tutti and member of the Italian American Club. I have the great pleasure of interrupting the day of James Canfield. Thank you, James, for taking the time to see us in the Nevada Ballet Theatre.
My pleasure, my pleasure.
So how are you feeling today?
Today, hot.
Hot?
Yeah, it's a little muggy outside.
It seems like you're really running around.
Yeah, there's always a lot going on with the end of a season and the start of a new. So
Okay.
we're in that in-between stage
The
right
ending
now.
and the start.
Yes, exactly.
So let's just start with your Italian roots.
Wow, my Italian roots. I am named James after my grandfather, who was James Giordano Lombardi. And he actually was related, and he passed away before I could ask him, but to Vince Lombardi.
Wow.
In Chicago, as we all know. And they were distant cousins. And my life growing up was all about delicious food and him making sure I always had money in my pocket.
Okay, so now hold on a second. Now, you said Chicago.
I did.
Okay, did you mean
No.
Green Bay?
Midwest, yes. Wisconsin.
Okay.
Yes.
So,
Green
okay.
Bay Packers.
Now, are you from Chicago?
I am not.
Where are
New
you
York
from?
originally.
New York.
Yes.
What part?
Corning, New York.
Corning.
Yes.
Is that upstate?
It is upstate.
Okay.
And
In quotes, upstate.
upstate. Yeah,
Okay.
it's a little eastern. It's close to Pennsylvania. Known for the Corning glass.
Okay.
Corning Glass Works in Steuben, which is, I guess, no longer, hasn't been in existence for a while. But yes, Corning glass, Corning ware.
Corning ware.
Yeah.
Okay.
Little
And
town.
you left there at what age?
We left there at 5
Okay.
and then moved to another great Italian state, Connecticut.
Ah, okay. Now, Ciao Tutti, the magazine, in the July issue, which you're going to be in, which is what we're doing this for, may be distributed in Connecticut also, Bridgeport, which is where?
Which is right where I lived.
Oh, really?
Yeah, that's really a small world. Actually, it was a little town outside of Bridgeport called Stratford, Connecticut,
Okay.
which is right on the water.
Stratford-on-Avon.
Stratford-on-Avon.
Okay.
It's funny you say that because that was, oh wow, this is coming full circle now.
Okay.
That was
See how these things work?
that was where I got my first introduction to theater,
Oh.
because my grandmother, she worked at the Shakespeare Theatre, which was built after the real Shakespeare Theatre in Stratford-on-Avon.
To look like it?
Exactly.
Wow.
And so this is so fortuitous. It's really funny. And I would go and help her sell her concessions. I was like 7 years old, but I would stand there, and I always had a seat to watch Shakespeare.
Wow.
So at 7 years old, I didn't know what they were saying, but I loved
You knew that.
going in that dark theater and the lights going out and you just watching performance. And I think I got my first real bug to wanting to be on stage or be a part of it. And then when I went backstage, the smell of the ropes and just that, old smell, just, I fell in love with that.
And you were how old?
7.
7.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
And did you pursue that for your whole life?
Yes.
One way or another?
My
your
grandfather, James, was a ballroom dancer. And so I grew up with a bat and a pair of tap shoes because I liked baseball and I liked tap shoes.
Okay.
And yes, a Yankees fan. That's all.
Now, so you said your grandmother did concessions?
Yes.
Was she Italian?
No, this is where I grew up with the greatest food in the world. She was Lebanese.
Ah, great
And so-
place, tabbouleh. There we go. Okay.
You got it. And the best gnocchi you would ever eat in your life.
Really?
Mhm.
And where did she get that recipe? Because that's
From
not
my
really
grandfather,
Lebanese.
his mother.
Oh,
So
from
she
God.
learned all of the Italian cooking from his mother. And so she was just naturally a good cook
Being Lebanese, they know how to cook anyway.
and put it together. And so growing up, I wasn't allowed in the kitchen. My sister was, and I always had to look over. And so, of course, long story short, my sister doesn't cook Italian food. I do, and I'm pretty good.
Okay. Now,
I can make a pretty good meatball.
baseball. Did baseball help you in ballet?
Absolutely. There's 2 sort of requirements to be a ballet dancer that I have really structurally and fundamentally come up with, and that's balance and coordination. And so when you look at any sport, whether it's, football, baseball, basketball, hockey, soccer, there's an amazing amount of balance and coordination because
Okay.
they have to be in the center of their body
Right.
in order to execute whatever it is that they're trying to execute. We have a greater challenge, dancers, because I would challenge LeBron James to do that beautiful choreography he does down a court, but have to do it musically. And that's the difference.
I see.
Dance has to be done on the music or in the music. It has to look and become one
Right.
experience where they do these great moves, but they can do it in their own time and then call timeout.
I would say I think there's another parallel with baseball in that you're on a team like in ballet, right?
Correct.
You're on a team. But when you're in baseball, you have your own position. And if you're playing shortstop, when it's your turn, there we go.
Do you know my life story? That's funny.
We do our research.
That was my position.
When you're playing shortstop, when that ball comes to you and it's your turn, or when you're at bat, you're by yourself.
Yep.
Is ballet like that too?
It is, because what I'm kind of hearing is that you're out there as a team, but your performance as an individual doesn't, become any greater or any less if the whole team isn't there.
Yeah.
There's the stars, but
Right.
the whole team has to support the stars.
Yeah. Well, like in football, say, you could be the quarterback, but you can't do your job if the other people don't.
Exactly.
But if you're the shortstop and the ball is hit to you, it doesn't really matter what anybody else is doing, right? You've got
That's
to
true.
do your job.
That's right. And that has to do with responsibility and accountability and years of experience, obviously.
So how long does it take somebody to get to the level of the ballet here? How many years?
Male versus female is very different because
okay.
it's so and still highly competitive, and the majority is women in ballet specifically, and men are still the minority. But there's kind of a saying by Martha Graham, and it's you have 10 years to learn how to run,
Okay.
15 years to learn how to walk, and 20 years to learn how to stand.
Huh.
And what that means is you take this, we hopefully gather a child's interest, male or female, through creative movement, which
Okay.
means come in and unleash creativity.
And that's what you do at the academy.
Correct.
They do at the academy. Okay.
Then you take that creativity and put it in a very strict environment, because ballet is an exact art form. And
Very exact.
very
Or
exact.
completely
You
precise.
don't want, you can't comment on it, if you will.
Yeah.
So, and
Hmm.
from ballet, class is just a series of progression and the combinations and series of exercises that progress you through the day. Well, you've created this interest through creativity, and you put them in a very structured lifestyle and focus and education for 10 years.
Okay.
And then you start to understand it, and then you start freeing it up back to the creative part.
Wow.
So I have this I have a lot of sayings, because I love this. I've been in it my entire life, that in order to get complete, it's through complete discipline that you will be able to become ultimately freely creative. I mean, discipline will free your creativity, because you are in so much control of everything you're able to do in your body that now it's almost on automatic, and the artist from there evolves.
So it's like a Zen thing.
It is, but it takes a long time. There's obviously those very gifted individuals who are, in the movie The Shine, or Shine is what it was called, where they're very gifted at very young ages, and they just know things that you can't teach before time. I've had that experience watching, one or two talents through my career, and I was a fortunate kid. I got an opportunity to see the best ballet companies, the best dancers in the world.
Because you're so close to New York City, or because of the theater where you were?
Well, the part I didn't tell you is after Connecticut, we moved to Richmond, Virginia.
Okay.
And that was a big change for me.
Sure.
Mason-Dixon line was
Yeah.
a big change for me.
Yeah.
And so I didn't enjoy Richmond so much. And I started tap dancing prior to this, but I needed a way to get out of Richmond. And so at age 13, I was introduced to the Nutcracker. I was a party kid. And then I got an opportunity to go to this school that existed. The company still exists this day and age, but back then it had an academy associated with it in Washington, D.C. It was a boarding school. 125 girls, 5 boys.
Wow.
And I had a free ride because I was the minority. And
Sure.
So at age 13, I left home, and where
Your
I was
parents were supportive?
very supportive of
Grandfather?
that. My grandfather had passed away at that time,
Okay.
but my grandmother was very supportive.
The Lebanese one.
Yes, she
Okay.
was. And so I found ballet as my vehicle out of Richmond, Virginia, and I then fell in love with it. And seeing
And the
the
school helped a lot?
absolutely, it was a ballet academy, and the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C. was this venue where I saw the greatest companies in the world. And I was very privileged to have done that.
Now, what do you think would happen if your family had not moved to Richmond?
I'd probably be playing baseball.
Really?
Mhm.
Okay. At this age?
Not
Coaching?
at this age, no.
Managing?
I don't know, probably, I'm a student, but ultimately that turned into directing. Like I didn't have a plan when I was dancing that I'm going to direct a company one day.
What did you think was going to happen?
I didn't know
You
because
didn't even think about it.
I didn't. I just was.
Focused on the here and now.
Yeah, I'm a sort of what people were to me is you're 24/7, aren't you? And I said, what does that mean? They said 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Do you ever get out of the sandbox? And I said, no, I guess I'm always in the sandbox. I like to be busy and I like to do things. But again, Mary Day is this academy that I went to, the Washington School of Ballet, and not knowing it, but when I look back to being there, it gave me the sort of education as to what it would take to establish a great school and how you bring the levels through from creative movement through the most advanced levels. So that was stored back there in one part of my head. That's why I have no hair. There's so much stored up there.
Right. It's
pushes
so much energy.
Exactly. And then I had the opportunity and the privilege of working with another pioneer. I call him the Johnny Appleseed of dance, and that was Robert Joffrey. And that's where my career was in New York. And so,
So that's like a big break in hindsight.
yeah, I mean, it was this school that I went to was a school that got you prepared to go onto companies. I mean, it was the only one of its kind in this entire country.
Okay.
And so it was, you either went to New York City Ballet, American Ballet Theatre, or the Joffrey Ballet, or to companies around the world. But that's where most of Mary Day students went. And just as a side note, the artistic director of American Ballet Theatre, currently Kevin McKenzie, he's a graduate of that school as well.
Oh, wow.
So there's a lot of her people out there that have gone on to either teach, choreograph, direct. But what I got from Robert Joffrey was the experience of no matter where it was, he went and planted seeds all over this country with either his company or a second company to introduce dance to communities, no matter how far. And
that was planned.
He did that, yes. And
he planned to do that. That wasn't just an opportunistic, hey, they called us up, why don't we go there?
His story, they began in a Chevrolet station wagon, 6 dancers and a tape player and costumes, and drove all around the country and toured. So he was an American touring company. What he did was he didn't have a cookie cutter look to the dancer body, and his repertoire was unique to what every one of the other major ballet companies in the country and in the world were doing. He would restage works that were going to historically get lost because there was no video and dance notation with a lot of those original works. So he brought those back and resurrected them. And then he also got major choreographers. And he was also a director who took risks because he trusted his company and his dancers. So he took people like a Twyla Tharp and now look at Twyla Tharp, but her first ballets were created on the Joffrey. So she's got a history there. Mark Morris, I mean, you can go down a list of people. Billy Forsythe was reintroduced into this country through Robert Joffrey. And so at the time, again, great miracle that I got to work with Mary Day on an academy, and a great miracle to work with such a
when
visionary.
you got with Joffrey, they weren't in the station wagon, right?
No, they'd advanced to a bus. No, no, we were touring, and so for me that was.
And how? So you would stay in a city town for a couple days? Or
some
week,
2 or 3 weeks.
Okay.
Yeah, we had. I mean, when we were with
so by that
Joffrey,
stage, it's not, I don't want to say a business in the negative sense, but in the positive sense, it was really planned. We're coming. Here's who we're doing all this stuff.
And I thought I had died and gone to heaven. This was the greatest thing in the world. I got to travel. It was paid for. You got to stay in hotels.
You got to do what you want.
I mean, and you're on stage every night. And I mean, it's amazing. And companies aren't touring as much as they used to. And I think that's a good and a bad thing. But the good thing about it was because of all these seeds he planted, dance with the boom of Baryshnikov, obviously, and then so every company started popping up all over the country. And I think that he is in part responsible for helping that happen. And when you look at how companies are evolving in this day and age, the greatest major ones, they are more repertoire driven, where before they were just very complacent and just doing what was in the needs of the audience. But I think as audiences grew and your makeup of your community is so vast that in order to be able to appeal to everybody, you had to have a company and a repertoire that pretty much did that.
Okay, now let me ask you this. Let's go back to Baryshnikov. So is Russia still known for having great ballet?
Absolutely.
Is that like, were they number one or are they number one?
I mean, I don't ever want to be on record for saying what is number one. I think they put
off
out,
the record.
They have great dancers. They produce great dancers. Excuse me. And unlike a lot of times in this country, they are very proud of their tradition there. And so I think tradition speaks for itself in the sense that they don't alter so many things the way that we have to in this country due to all of the variables.
And who was the guy after Baryshnikov, the Russian guy? I think he was in the movie Witness.
Oh,
Does it start with an N?
No, blonde hair. I see him, and he actually was married to Jacqueline Bisset for a while.
Oh, okay.
What was his name? It'll come to me.
Okay. Now, I always hear that ballet people, when they get older, their bodies are not in good shape, meaning their joints or something.
I'm not a ballet people. No.
Okay.
It wears and tears on you.
So wait, ballerina is a female, right?
Yes.
What's a male?
Premier danseur.
Oh, okay.
Everybody'd say ballerino because that's kind of
sounds weird.
Sounds like Italian, ballerino. No, it's a ballerina, and then there's prima ballerina, and then there's prima ballerina assoluta, the ultimate. And then with men, it's just premier, meaning first danseur, first dancer.
Okay.
So
now I forgot my question.
It's okay, we can't cut.
There's a little secret button, a pause button. No, there's not. So how does America stack up in terms of after Joffrey? Is there a lot of people are now really high quality?
I think.
Let's say you go around the world and you say I'm Nevada American ballet with American ballet. Do people say, "Oh, well, that's good"?
I think because of sort of technology, we're all more aware of each other now, more than we've ever been, because you had to, back in the day, wait for Dance Magazine to come out, or Ballet News, or some of these international ones, to learn about the companies worldwide. But it really is a small world all the way around, not just dance. Just when you look at the world now through technology, is we can find out anything and be in any country, by the push of a button.
Yeah,
and so,
or like this hang out on air we're doing right now.
Yeah, and I think though for the world, communication is good, and we're all much more knowledgeable now with what is out there, what's available. Dancers in America, if they're not able to dance here, there are so many companies throughout the world that they can audition at and go to, where before you'd have to save the money up to fly there to be seen. And now you can audition through video. You can send videos in, and you can YouTube or
right, all of that.
Yeah, so I think that's a great thing. But America stands up in dance to any other country in the world. Speaking of which, just one sidebar here.
Sure.
No, one sidebar.
This is your show.
Is Mary Day. She had the first American ever to win in a Russian competition.
Wow.
And
so that was a big upset.
Well, it was just the first time ever, and that came from her school. So the tides were kind of turned then. The young woman's name was Amanda McCarrow, and she went on to have an incredible career at American Ballet Theatre. And she and her husband, John Gardner, now are teaching. And that's one aspect of this career, probably like the traditions of cooking, and it's you pass it down. You can write certain things down about a recipe, but there's always something a little different. When she tastes it, she knows if it's right or not. And that's the same thing with nuance, and having the experience of working with choreographers over in companies. For example, in the fall with our All Balanchine program, Sandra Jennings, she is an ex-dancer of the New York City Ballet, and she worked with Mr. Balanchine, and so she will bring those memories with her when she stages work for us. And
to another generation.
Yeah, and so things get lost, of course, but it's important that the work still stay around, and that those traditions and those memories and those nuances are passed down to the next companies and dancers.
And then there's new stuff. Okay, so for example, you look more like Sons of Anarchy to me.
When did you get out?
Is tattoo common in ballet?
No. This all happened after my career was over. And so with that, I don't know, I've always been a little rebellious, and I think that with anything, I want people to look at dance differently. And I don't want it to look like not just me, but just let your guard down for a minute and exhale and experience dance for the first time again, or for the first time ever.
It's not what you think it is.
Well, it's evolved so much, and I think that a lot of in this day and age, when I was in my career in New York, I would have never even thought, let alone consider, walking down the streets in Lycra. Okay? Well, along comes the boom of health clubs and fitness and 24 hours and golds and all of that.
Village people.
Everybody wears Lycra on the streets now. It's accepted. So because there's something about the athleticism and the amazing things the human body can do. And so if you're going to stand and lift weights or work out or do Pilates or whatever it is in front of a mirror and watch yourself, that's what we've done our whole life. To perfect and and refine what it is in this exact art form that we're trying to gain. And I think now that there is a greater understanding of just men and women in general across the universe about their body and the conditioning of it, and they're working on it. There's a different way you can look at dance now than you have before. And don't be so stereotypical and put your guard up and say, it's not for me, blah, because I think it is.
And these bar studios
Yeah.
They don't hurt ballet. It's not ballet.
Right.
But it doesn't hurt, right?
Absolutely not.
I mean, I think it brings people into, okay, well, I'm not doing ballet, but I'm doing some moves, maybe
Right.
some very, rudimentary moves.
Right. I mean, Dancing with the Stars, So You Think You Can Dance, even Dance Moms. I mean,
Okay.
there's elements to all of that are truth. A lot of it is, flash, but I think that anything that has to do with dance will only help us in the future. Yeah.
Now, switching gears a little bit, Nevada Ballet Theatre.
Correct.
I was amazed at the facility you have
So was I.
here. How long have you been here?
I will be going on my 8th season.
Okay.
Yes.
It's not what you expect when you hear Las Vegas, right? And ballet.
I had heard, believe it or not, in 1985, I was a guest artist here, and I danced with what was then Nevada Dance Theatre
Okay.
under the founding artistic director, Vasily Sulich. I was invited with my partner, Patricia, to guest on their performance. And they didn't have a facility at the time. There was no Smith Center for the Performing Arts. There was Judy Bailey and Ham Hall, and we danced at Ham Hall with the company. And so I had kept in touch with Vasily over the years, just peer to peer. And when I came here, I walked in, the first words out of my mouth was, "You are kidding me," because most companies don't have a facility like this.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, we always say only in Las Vegas. I mean, there's stuff built here that you don't see anywhere.
Yeah, it's the Smith Center as well. That is
okay.
phenomenal.
Sure.
One of the most beautiful theaters in this country, and it has helped the company rise to a whole new level. Just when you walk out on that stage,
promoting, marketing, all of these
Yeah.
that are going on there.
And
So
when
it's
you're on
kind
that
of the other
stage-
side of Las Vegas mostly for the local people, right? The professional people, local people, the business people here it's not the Strip. It's not what people think.
And I think that it isn't what people think. That I think when you think of Las Vegas, it has an international appeal to it, and I've been coming here since I was 19,
Okay.
because you didn't have to be 21 back in those days. Every state
Sure.
had their different age requirement, but we would come here, and then it was really about gambling
Yeah.
and some shows, but it has changed immensely.
Yeah.
I mean, there's great shopping here, fashion
Yeah.
here, there's food here,
Yeah.
there's probably some of the
Entertainment.
best entertainment in
Yeah.
the world, if not the best in
Yeah.
the world. And now the Smith Center has filled sort of the gap that was missing to make it truly an international place and city.
And
to
the
be
ballet
recognized.
has filled the need.
We are getting there, yes. I think with any great city in the world, they need to have a world-class ballet company, and that's what we aspire to become.
That's interesting because are you familiar with the hockey team that's trying to come here at the Maloofs? Okay. So Gavin Maloof came to the club, the Italian American Club, and talked to the members at one of our monthly dinners. He said, every great city has its own team. It's time for Las Vegas to have its own professional team.
Right.
And would you say that's true of ballet? Every great city has ballet? Or only the greatest of the great cities have ballet?
Every world-class city needs a world-class ballet.
And this is world-class.
We're getting there. We are getting
Like,
there, for
Not
sure.
far away.
Well, I mean,
Or you're just being modest.
no, well,
Modest.
we're
I'm getting modesty.
well, we're a young community. I mean, when you
No,
it's
you're
still
absolutely
pretty
right.
young.
If you go
And
back
so-
15 years ago, Las Vegas was much different than it is today.
And so I think we hold our own for
Okay.
absolutely sure. And and I am I'll never be satisfied with anything I do in my life.
That's part of your Italian part. I mean, I need to exceed.
I'm just never, I always see how it can be better. I don't rest on my laurels. We're only as good as the next performance
Sure.
we do. So that's kind of where I've
Well, how
always
about
been.
this as a test? Is it easy to get good people to come and do guest performances?
Yes.
Okay, so it's not like Stockton, right? Like if you said, "Oh, we're come do our performance in
Right.
Stockton,"
Right.
That here it's, oh, Las Vegas.
People want to come.
Okay.
Absolutely. It's a city, every dance, music, probably opera wants to come here. Yeah, absolutely.
So today, if you want to be in ballet, is it like you say, well, I performed at Kennedy Center? That means you've made it? Or
Well, I think New York is still the testament.
okay.
of-
So
of
if you've
all.
been there, you've made it.
I think
And
so.
So one day, people say, if I performed in Las Vegas, because, you know, a lot of entertainers, different type of entertainers, if you entertain in Las Vegas, you've made it,
Mhm.
right?
Absolutely.
And you're pushing the ballet that way.
I am. We are. I mean, it is definitely,
Well, I know you have
It's a
everybody
world-
behind you. This is
it's a world-class
this
city.
is a very
I mean,
impressive facility.
and it's an incredible community. People are so generous here, starting with our founder, who after, oh my gosh, 48 years now, 46, 7, 8 years has been here.
Hmm.
And amazing. I mean, and our board of trustees, I mean, you don't really go to communities where they say, well, I've been here probably for 15 years. 15 years, you know, that's crazy. And that's true support, because these are the people that are behind this whole effort to what we want to do and what we want to become, who have not gone away and been frustrated. They've seen it happen in their lifetime. And I think that that's what any generation wants to see, that they helped make a difference.
Well, that's a great point. So on that, I'm going to switch gears.
Okay.
So before we went live, you mentioned Parma. This is your favorite Italian restaurant?
It is my favorite restaurant. And I used to live right next door in the apartments when I first moved here, right around the corner. And I would drive by, and every day I'd say, it's a strip little mall thing.
Yeah.
I walked in one day and I was like, oh my God, my grandmother just sent me just like the best gift, because she would always find these places that were these stores with good imported Italian tomatoes, and and there it was. And I said, and to boot, they've got a restaurant. First meal I ate was a lunch there, and I had a meatball parmesan
How long ago
sandwich.
was that?
First year I came here, so almost 8 years ago.
So you remember that?
Absolutely.
You remember the first bite?
I absolutely do. Well, because you can tell by the sauce. If a sauce is,
We're going to come to that. I don't want to jump ahead.
No,
So-
but that's what it was. The
No, you're
sauce
right.
on the sandwich. I was like, okay, you know or you don't know. You either do or don't. Yeah.
Now, have you been to Novecento?
No, where's that?
This is Chef Mark, has two Novecento, one off of Ann Road.
This is the pizza place.
Yeah.
I've had his pizza.
Okay, and one out in Henderson. Remember,
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Where in Henderson?
on Eastern.
Okay, and what?
Eastern near, it is just
Off the 215.
south of the St. Rose Parkway.
How did I miss it? I'm out there every day.
It's on the
I'm looking
left-hand
for it
side.
tonight.
It's on the
I'll be out
left-hand
there.
side. Well, it's on the east side, if you're heading
Right.
south on
I
Eastern.
got you.
And it's behind, it might be, it's right in that area. I get confused with north of St. Rose and south of St. Rose.
Because that's where everything's turning. That 215 is east and west and north and south.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it's right, it's before you get to Coronado
Okay.
or Siena. It's before that.
Siena.
It's before Siena.
Okay.
And what other Italian places do you like?
My kitchen.
Where's that? Oh, your kitchen. Your kitchen. Okay,
In
I'm
my
not
house.
familiar with that one. All right.
Yeah. I don't really venture in Italian too much because most of the time, and this isn't, I like Mario Batali's cooking in New York. I love his restaurants there. They're a little smaller, so I think the quality control is better. And I'm not saying I haven't eaten at his restaurants here. I have, but I think they're just too big
I see.
to get quality control. But I love his cooking.
Okay.
And
You know,
I'm gonna get in
it's kind of-
trouble probably.
It's kind of an interesting thing with Italians. So Mark Rondazza, who's an attorney here, grew up in Gloucester, Massachusetts, fishing town. And I said, you know, what are some of the good Italian restaurants in Gloucester? And he gave me this look like, there aren't any. Why would you go to an Italian restaurant? You just go in your kitchen. You know, your grandmother cooks, your mother cooks, whoever cooks. And so I get there's a lot of people who the concept of Italian food is like, you know, make it myself. But then there are other people, like the president of the club, Angelo Casaro. He makes it a point when he goes into town, he checks into a restaurant, his first question is, what's the best Italian restaurant in town? And it's kind of this quest to find, you know, where are the best Italian restaurants? But it sounds like you like Parma, you're satisfied with that, and you're cooking.
Yeah, probably because I have an expectation when I go to any restaurant, you know, and I love ethnic food, all kinds, and I haven't found, you know, it's same with Syrian and Lebanese food. That's a hard one.
Oh, I would say that's hard because there's just not that many.
And it's a hard one to go to get those things that your grandmother just, you know, she excelled on. Grape leaves, for example, you know, raw kibbe, you know, and it's like you see it on a restaurant's menu, but you have to call 2 days in advance in order for them to make it. So you just, you know, let it go. But as far as Italian goes, I have tastes in my mouth that I want to taste, and if it's not there, you know, it's.
Now there's a good Italian, well, there's a lot, but one of the Italian restaurants I'm thinking of that you might want to try sometime is called Gina's Bistro.
I'm gonna write that down.
That's on Flamingo.
And what? East or west side?
It's on near Flamingo and I don't know. It's in Ciao Tutti. They're an advertiser. The thing that's interesting about it is this is a 24-year-old kid who's from Italy, from Genoa.
Okay.
Who's fourth generation restaurateur. His dad has a Michelin 3-star restaurant in Genoa. And so he came over, he wanted to bring authentic Genoese Italian food to people. And, you know, this is not filtered by anybody. Right. I mean, this is what his grandmother showed his father and him, you know, four or five generations deep. So that might be something to try.
And that's this Gina's or
Gina's.
Gina's.
Gina Bistro on Flamingo. Now, how about, so you don't know Trattoria Reggiano?
Yes, I do.
In the Venetian or the one up in downtown Summerlin?
I've eaten at the Venetian, but I live by the downtown Summerlin one and very anxious to try that.
So that's one of my favorites. Is, you know, I like you know, it's the Bonanno family. They're you know, great restaurant.
That's a good recommendation because
they one of their big things is their meatballs, which they also make with filet, so pork and filet, and just great flavor. And to your earlier point, it's for them, it's the sauce.
Yeah,
you know, when I took them to the Italian American Club, which this just got the best Italian restaurant of the year.
Oh, they did?
The Critics' Choice.
Oh, wow.
Not the People's Choice. That always goes to the Olive Garden. So,
been there.
But I took Frank Bonanno to the Italian American Club, and he said, you know what, this sauce is good. He said, you know, he grew up with his grandmother's cooking, then he went to culinary school and has 50 restaurants now here in Las Vegas. And
so 50 of those are just different?
He has he has the restaurants in the food court. So all the Johnny Rockets, Haagen-Dazs.
Got it. Okay.
Nathan's Hot Dogs, you know, big 50 restaurants, 900 people.
Wow.
You know, big operation. And he's a guy who cooks.
Right.
He knows what he's doing.
And I appreciate that. You know what I mean? Because it's like when you hand it off, it's like dancing. If you're not there to, you know, hang on to the details, it gets lost. Yeah. It does. And quality control is important.
So I can see why the ballet would want you here, because the kinds of stuff that you talk about, you get that. It's not just bringing superstars in.
Yeah.
And
we're going to make our own. We are making our own.
Yeah. Well, that's great. So I know that I've taken tremendous amount of your time. Thank you for fitting me into your schedule.
No, thank you. This is, I didn't expect this much.
I have
time.
two questions
Okay.
that I should have asked you. So your Italian roots are from what part of Italy?
They are Lombardia region.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And sauce or gravy?
Sauce.
Okay. Okay. Good.
Absolutely.
Thank you very much.
My pleasure. Thank
Appreciate
you.
it. That's a good, strong grip. I guess in ballet you have to.
Well,
You've
you have
gotta
to
have
lift those
strength.
girls. Yeah, you
Huh.
do.
It's not all the jumping.
No,
Somebody
it's-
told me it's the
the-
jumping.
No, the men have to have very strong legs in order to lift, jump, and do the turns. And you want to push from the legs and lift from the legs, because if you do it any other way, you're going to have a lot of back
So
injury.
the forearms balance, keeping them.
And coordinating, because that's interesting that you brought that up, because when you have gotten that discipline to that we were chatting about earlier, where you are completely in control of your body, now the game changes when you start partnering, because you have to find their timing and their discipline and be able to melt it to become one. I always talked about my partner and I. She and I wished we could have, or we will come back as ice skaters next time, because Torval and Dean, they just epitomize the unification of just watching it seamless and being able to extend musically beautifully.
Wow. Okay, so now could you push the red button?